When was the last time that you looked at your website from your end user's perspective? Not from your marketing teams, not from your designers, not even from yours, but from your end user. Whoever it is that your target audience is, how often do you look at your website through their lens and how well it is serving them? We've built a lot of websites over the years for clients, both big and small. And one of the most common mistakes that we see time and time again is not taking the time to understand who your audience is and what it is that they are seeking from your website. So today I'm going to go through 3 different things that are super important for you to think about when building your next website for your business and what you can do to meet your end user where they are and give them the experience that they're looking for. Let's get into it. All right, so what does this mean? What do we actually have to do to make our website work better for the end user? Well, some of it is going to be specific to your industry. Restaurant users are different than e-commerce users, and those are different than nonprofit users. So there's some specifics for each industry, and we can get into some of that in some later videos. But for starters, let's take a look at some of the core UX principles that are going to apply to all users across the board. Number 1. As of July of 2025, about 64% of all traffic on the internet is coming from a mobile device. This number has continued to climb in recent years, and we're at a point now where we can no longer think about our website being mobile friendly, but we have to think about our website being mobile first. That means we need to think about mobile specific features. We need to think about the mobile experience as a forethought, not as a, hey, we'll fix it later afterthought. To emphasize that point, back in July of 2024, Google actually stopped indexing websites that are not optimized for mobile. So that means if you don't build your website to be responsive, you don't build it with a good mobile user experience, Google's going to ignore it anyways. Now, when we talk about optimizing for mobile, that can mean a few different things, and it varies across industries. So to give you an example of a mobile first feature, and something that we've built on a lot of the websites that we built, is a mobile footer. And what that is going to look like and feel like is an app on your phone. It makes it feel like a native app experience. The way we'll usually think about building these is very similar to the way that you would build your main navigation for the website. I would say pick the anywhere from 3 to 5 most important things on your website. Now, it's important to not think of these as the most important things to you, but the most important things to your user. An easy way to tell what's important to your user is by leveraging tools like Google Analytics or whatever tracking tools you may have installed on your website to understand which pages are receiving the most traffic. From there, we can build a footer at the bottom of the website that's going to make it a single-click navigation for users to go to all of these important pillars of your website. This is a great way to show the mobile user that you're making it as user-friendly for them. It's an intentional design choice, which matters when we're talking about people that are using their phones primarily to navigate these websites. So the second global UX principle that we can talk about is our page load times. This is something we've been fighting an uphill battle on as web designers for years and years and years. We'll spend time building a website, optimizing everything, we hand it off to a client, we come back a couple months later, or we get a call or an email from the client saying that their website is moving really slow. There's a lot of things that contribute to how quickly a page on your website loads. Everything from the technologies to how many scripts you're loading, how big your images are, whether you've got videos on there, how good your hosting service is. So there's a lot of boxes to check here. But that doesn't mean that it has to be too overwhelming, because there's usually a few common culprits that will slow your website down. I would say that the most common reason that I see pages loading slow is because users do not optimize their images before they upload them to a page. If you think about the way that a website works is when somebody clicks on a page on your website, the browser that they're in is going and downloading all of the content from that page. It's taking it from the server wherever you're hosting your website, and it's bringing it into their browser. So that means all of the content that fills that page has to be fetched by that browser. The larger that is, the longer it takes to load. It's a simple throughput equation that we're talking about here. So what happens is when you upload full 4K resolution images, those are a lot larger in actual file size than properly optimized images are. Now, there's a few different ways that you can go about optimizing images for your website. I'll leave some links in the description down below. Now, if you're using a platform like WordPress, there's some great image optimization plugins that you can use that will help optimize the image when you upload it. Personally, I would not recommend relying on those solely. I would always err on the side of optimizing your image before you even upload it to the website. A typical benchmark for myself is I try to keep all the images on the website to 300 kilobytes or less. There's some exceptions that I'll make if it needs to be a larger hero image, but I'll try to offset that by limiting the use of images throughout the rest of the page. What I have personally found to be the most effective way to bulk optimize a set of images is to use Photoshop. If you're at all familiar with Photoshop, there's a great tool in the menu where you can run a script that will optimize a big batch of photos all at once. You set the settings for exactly what you want the compression settings to be, what size you want the image to be. It'll run that compression script over a full set of images, and then you have one folder where you can upload a whole batch of images to your website. Really helps speed up the process, makes it a lot easier, and it's one of the most effective compression tools, so you end up with a very optimal image size. Now, like I mentioned before, there's a lot that goes into what determines how quickly a page loads for a user, well beyond just the images on the page. I mention images because those are A, one of the most common culprits that I see that slow down page load time, and B, it's one of the easiest fixes. So that's some low-hanging fruit that you can probably check off the list this week. Now, when we get into some of the other topics, such as, let's say, website hosting, I'll probably save that for another video so we can do a bit of a deeper dive into website hosting. One thing I would recommend taking a look at is just some of the reviews for whoever your current hosting provider is, and maybe even reach out to the hosting provider themselves to get a good understanding of exactly what the SLA is or what the expectations should be for how quickly your website loads, assuming that there aren't any additional bells and whistles added. So when it comes to page load times, this ties very clearly back to our first point, that if we think about the fact that the majority of users are coming from a mobile device, it's really important that our page load times are optimized. If you think about the fact that somebody's on a mobile phone, possibly on a mobile network without great service, we need to accommodate for that user too. And so page load times are even more important when you compound them with the fact that the majority of your traffic is coming from a mobile device. What I would recommend is using tools like Page Light Speed or GT Metrics. I'll leave links for both of those down below to understand where your website may fall short today. We've also got a great tool that we've built at Mithril Media that you can go check out at mithrilmedia.io/audit that will help you understand not just page load time, but a whole bunch of other stuff as well. So for these first 2 points, we've talked a lot about some of the technical sides of things. For the third point, I want to dive a little bit more into the messaging and the value proposition. I think it's easy to get lost in this sometimes and overthink it. At the end of the day, simplicity is what's going to win. If you confuse, you lose. According to the Nielsen Norman Group, who's one of the leading UX researchers out there, the majority of users on the internet leave a website between 10 and 20 seconds. Now, some of that is a bit of a chicken and an egg scenario, in which, is it the website that's causing them to leave, or is it the short attention span? My take is it's probably a little bit of both. What that means, though, is you've got a very short window of time to not only capture the attention, but to keep it. Research has shown that it takes just about 50 milliseconds, that's it, for someone to form an opinion about your website. For 94% of those users, that first impression is driven entirely by the overall design and visual clarity of your website. What do we mean by that? It doesn't mean that you need the fanciest website out there. Visual clarity is really the thing that we should key in on here. Visual clarity means that somebody can look at your website, they can clearly understand what it is that you do, and they can understand what the next step is to take. It's been shown that up to 44% of users are going to leave a website if there's no contact information available. And getting a little bit more into the psychology of sales, 81% of users are going to visit your website before they make a purchase. Across the board, 81% of users are going to go online, they're going to do some research about the company that they're thinking about buying something from. Sometimes they'll buy it directly from the website, sometimes that means they buy it through a brick and mortar location. All kinds of different ways that transaction can happen. But the fact of the matter is they're coming to your website to learn more about you and to understand what is the value that you're providing to them and why should they buy something from you. So just for a quick recap, the 3 things that I think you can do this week to try to improve on your website: evaluate your mobile user experience. What I would recommend, get your phone out, hand it to a friend that isn't familiar with your website, and ask them to navigate around. Ask them to complete a task. See how easy or how hard it is, and that's going to give you a really good barometer of some of the things that you might be able to improve. Number 2 is to do some research on what your page load times currently look like for some of your most important pages and what some of the bottlenecks might be that are causing them to be slower than they should. You can use our tool over at mithrilmedia.io/audit to help you with this, or you can use other tools such as GT Metrics or Page Speed Insights, again, both of which I've linked down below. And last but not least, evaluate your messaging on your website. Is there a clear value proposition? Does it tell users exactly what they need to know? Does it help them make the decision to go the next step? If we're missing that, then we're missing out on business. The reality is I've seen a lot of business owners that build their websites for themselves, not for their end users. Some of the most successful websites that I've seen and some of the most successful that we've personally built are the ones that are specifically built through the lens of the audience that is being served. So go do some of these tests this week. Come back, drop a comment down below. If you got any questions, don't hesitate to reach out and let us know what you'd like to see in some future videos. Thanks for stopping by.